Astrology and mystery, new for 92 on BBC1. Introducing Millicent Martin and John Mitchie, Moon and Sun.
What do you see?
Definitely coming into money.
Quite soon, I hope?
Oh, yes, I would think very...
This is a stick-up.
Oh, do you know about energy fields, dear? Have I had a week?
Oh, I can almost feel your biorhythmic tension. Another pot of tea, dear.
Solving mysteries the psychic way. Moon and Sun, a new series starts next Saturday at 7:55 on BBC1.
OK, shut your eyes.
Porridge.
All right, open up.
Teeth.
Yeah, jaws free, look.
The movie in 20 minutes.
Look, get off.
First on BBC1, the news and sport with Michael Burke and David Davis.
Rebels and loyalists have agreed a ceasefire in Georgia. 50 people died in a week of fighting that pushed the republic to the brink of civil war. And the UN calls for a truce in Somalia. 20,000 have been killed and injured there. Good evening. A week of fighting that's turned the centre of the Georgian capital, Tbilisi, into a battleground ended this afternoon with tentative agreement on a ceasefire. 51 people are reported to have been killed and 283 injured as rebels tried to drive President Gamsakhourdia from power. Tonight, the rebels and some of those who had been supporting the president issued an ultimatum calling on him to go. Both sides have warned that civil war could engulf the former Soviet Republic if the situation is not resolved.
Early this morning, the opposition forces surrounding the Georgian parliament resumed their attack. Tracer bullets streaked across the city. There was cannon and heavy machine gun fire from several different positions around the parliament building. The move to get negotiations underway came amid some of the fiercest fighting of the week, with indiscriminate shooting in much of the city centre. The opposition forces had declared their determination to force the surrender of President Gamsakhourdia, the man they accuse of dictatorship and of collaboration with the leaders of the August coup.
The forces opposed to Zviad Gamsakhourdia say they have him completely surrounded now, but they're still being held back by sniper fire, and the bunker itself is heavily fortified.
Despite day after day of heavy attacks, the fortress-like parliament building has proved almost impenetrable to the unsophisticated firepower of the rebel forces. President Gamsakhourdia has remained in his bunker deep beneath it. The opposition achieved a spectacular breakthrough yesterday when they stormed the KGB headquarters at the rear of the parliament, freed several political prisoners and set the building ablaze. Representatives of government and opposition held 5 hours of talks at Tbilisi's television station this afternoon, in the midst of some of the fiercest fighting of the week. Opposition forces renewed their attacks on the Georgian parliament, and troops loyal to President Gamsakhourdia set fire to the Hotel Tbilisi, the temporary headquarters of the opposition. Tonight, several large buildings in the city are still ablaze, but the ceasefire declared at 6 o'clock local time appears to be holding, with the exception of some sporadic gunfire. There seems little prospect of a more permanent truce, though. Negotiations aimed at finding a solution to the crisis collapsed tonight when none of President Gamsakhourdia's representatives turned up, a move which may have lost him the military support he so badly needs. The leader of the National Guardsmen, who remained loyal to the president until now, joined with opposition leaders in demanding Mr. Gamsakhourdia's resignation. A communique issued tonight said that if he did not do so, he must accept full responsibility for the events which will follow. I understand they have already drawn up detailed plans to storm the parliament where he's taken refuge. Carol Walker, BBC News, Tbilisi.
There are signs of growing tension between Russia and Ukraine over future military cooperation, despite a series of agreements drawn up by the Commonwealth of former Soviet republics. Boris Yeltsin wants the 11 members of the new Commonwealth to share joint military control. But Ukraine and 2 other states, Moldavia and Azerbaijan, are demanding the right to maintain their own armed forces. Azerbaijani troops have been shelling the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh after Boris Yeltsin ordered the Soviet army to pull out. Up to 14 people were killed.
The future of the former Soviet Union's armed forces is still shrouded in doubt. The Ukrainians are insisting they want their own army. Along with Moldavia and Azerbaijan, they're refusing even to take part in a combined armed forces for the new Commonwealth. At this base, the hammer and sickle has long since gone. It's the Ukrainian national flag that flies here. These men, who used to be Soviet soldiers, now swear allegiance to the Ukraine alone. The Ukrainians say they're still committed to getting rid of nuclear weapons from their territory, but they don't want to be part of any military bloc. They don't trust the Russian Republic, and they don't like the fact that its leader Boris Yeltsin now has his finger on the nuclear button. But some officers in Moscow are trying hard to stop the disintegration of what was the Soviet army.
It is very complicated, and sometimes I think it could be a little bit dangerous process if the leaders of independent states will not demonstrate their political wisdom.
While the fate of this superpower army is being debated, its troops are scaling down their activities, and they've been pulled out of trouble spots like Nagorno-Karabakh, where there's been fighting for almost 4 years between Azerbaijanis and Armenians. Since the troops left, violence has now flared up there again. More people have died today in the capital Stepanakert, where they've been trying to hold elections. As the soldiers withdraw, this is a test for the new Commonwealth. Can it keep the peace in such places as Nagorno-Karabakh better than the old Soviet Union? Or will regions like this descend, as Mikhail Gorbachev has warned, into even bloodier chaos? Ben Brown, BBC News, Moscow.
The American Defense Secretary Dick Cheney has said the former Soviet authorities are still building nuclear weapons and targeting them at the United States. Mr. Cheney said ways had to be found to redirect Soviet military activity to civilian uses. He said until then, Americans wouldn't be confident that the former Soviet Union had really changed. Here, there's been a sharp drop in public confidence in the economy, according to an opinion poll to be published tomorrow. The poll suggests pessimists outnumber optimists by 17%. Labour believes the recession will drive support from the Conservatives. And on voting intentions, the same poll suggests Labour now has a lead of 6 points over the Conservatives. 2 recent polls have given the Tories a small lead.
John Major saw his party's ratings improve while the political debate concentrated on Europe. So before this latest poll was published, he returned to the attack over a single currency, writing to Neil Kinnock, saying, "Under your policy, we would be compelled to join and give up the pound, regardless of the wishes of Parliament."
To try and commit ourselves now, years in advance, in unknown circumstances economically in this country, in unknown circumstances economically elsewhere in Europe, in unknown circumstances economically in the world, is folly. Now, if that is what the Labour Party want to commit themselves to, let them defend it.
But Labour brushed that aside, accusing the Prime Minister of avoiding the real issues.
The Conservatives have tried to distract the people with outside activities outside the country. John Major getting on planes, John Major getting off planes. But in every household in Britain, people know that what really counts is jobs, homes, the National Health Service, education.
Private criticism from some Conservative MPs that the Chancellor's economic predictions have been too optimistic has become more open this weekend. One senior minister told me Norman Lamont's political judgment had always been questionable. There's enormous frustration among Tories who see little hope that the promised economic recovery will materialise much before the election. According to Murray, the voters have come to the same conclusion. While in recent months a small majority believed the economy would get better, 41% now say they think it will get worse in the next 12 months. Only 24% said it would improve, while 31% said it would stay the same. Neil Kinnock plays on those doubts in a letter sent to 1 million homes in marginal areas. The Conservatives, he said, have chosen recession and privatisation. The result is that manufacturing and construction have been pushed into slump. Mr Kinnock goes on to say that the great majority of people would be better off under Labour's tax proposals, something Conservatives insist can't be squared with the opposition's spending plans. It's that kind of issue, rather than Europe, that's certain to dominate the election campaign.